Yay! Live.
Everybody.
Hello.
Oh my goodness. Happy Saturday. Happy spring. Happy April Fools if you are still participating in that tradition.
Participating in that tradition. Yes. Yes.
I was talking to a friend about like pranks played on children, and we were just like, I feel like all these are funny, but they're also really mean.
I'm going to be honest. I feel like pranks played on children are a very good way to judge if you are a good parent or not. Like, we're talking the Halloween Jimmy Kimmel one where it's like, sorry, honey, I ate all your Halloween candy. You know so fast the brats from the individuals who are going to grow up to be good people. Yeah.
So that's the whole thing. So today, I mean, it is topical because we are discussing basically a YA book. We are talking about Lockwood and Co. And the Netflix adaptation, as well as the book, which is by Jonathan. Oh my gosh, his name, my brain.
You know what? That's okay.
No, Jonathan Stroud. It's by Jonathan Stroud. I'm sorry, guys. If you know anything about me, if you've ever seen me like perform improv or on this stream, did you get a knock on your door?
Huh?
Did you get a knock on your door?
No, I like my thing moved and I moved it back and it hit the table, so it made a knock. Cause wood.
No. But anyway, me names, Chloe names, it doesn't happen. I have to know you for like 6 months and interact with you on a regular basis, or it's just not. I regularly name myself something in an improv show and then literally will exit the scene and look at my scene partner and be like, what is my name? What is my name?
I think it's some of the best bits. Oh, this is irrelevant. But there was a fantasy one that I saw where they interview the individual suspects. It was the funniest thing ever. Because one gal turned into a frog prince on stage and was bouncing up and down and was talking about another one of the characters, like that he was in love with, calling her princess such and such. And the other character was like, dude, we just said that she was the scullery maid. And the frog prince just goes, oh, that explains so much.
You just gotta go with it. But yes, Lockwood and Co. by Jonathan Stroud, adapted into a very highly reviewed show on Netflix. If you are new here, this is Read.Watch.VENT, where we read books and we watch the TV shows and movies that they are adapted to, and then we discuss.
Angry about it.
About whether we liked it or not.
Some of us vent more than others.
It's fine. Some things are worth more venting than others. So if you are new here, we usually do a little summary of the story, and then we'll go into our analysis of what's happening. There will be spoilers, so if you don't want the story spoiled for you, make sure that you go watch it or read it and then come back and watch this episode. But if you don't care about spoilers and you just want to know, is this show any good? What's it about? What's up? Stay and watch and tell us what you thought about it. If you have already seen it and you're like, no, we were both wrong. This is why it's a different thing. We'll discuss with you. We happily.
Vent.
This is a safe space.
Bring it on.
Cool. So I'm gonna put the timer on, Erin.
Timer? Oh God. Okay.
30 seconds. What is this story about?
Okay.
Go.
Okay. Wait, start it again. I wasn't prepared. So much pressure. Okay, I'm good now. Ghost all over London. Gal is trying to run away from bad ghost experience. Finds boy running ghost hunting thing. Burning fire. Evil ghost attached to a necklace. Chaos ensues. Then they go to evil house to do more ghost hunting. And a guy tries to kill them along with more ghosts. And there's a smart kid in there who likes to eat lots of cookies. And that's
done. Okay, that was delightful.
How'd I do?
That's great. I think you got mostly the whole story in there.
Thank you very much.
So this is a great little YA mystery story. It's got like noir vibes in there. We have this like ghost hunting agency. Something happened in the world, and the dead no longer stay dead. They're all ghosts, and for some reason, only children can see them.
Because children, this is totally a thing. When you have in horror movies the little kids who go, I see dead people. It's because children are more in tune to the veil than the adults, because the adults are told their entire lives, don't believe in that, that's not real. So they grow up and they just put on the blinders and they can't see shit anymore. But children can see it. It's a thing. Also, women are more in tune to ghosty paranormal shit. Sorry, continue.
No, I think you're in generally right. Yes, women tend to be more in tune as adults because we are typically more conscious of like our inner child.
Yeah, sensitive to energy.
And that stuff. I really liked the themes of just sort of like I was going through the Save the Cat beats of the pilot and just like coming down like what is the theme? And the first scene of this show, and it's similarly presented in the book. But it's Lucy and Lockwood, and they're going on this job, and they're discussing their plan, and it's just very businessy. They're very well put together for two like 12-year-olds. And
Lucy is like kind of our main protagonist, and Lockwood is the ghost hunting boy. He owns Lockwood and Co.
He owns the ghost
hunting agency, and he hired on this other child.
Yeah. And they're talking, and they say something. She says something to him about like, shouldn't we have an adult with us? Like, shouldn't we have like a handler? And he's like, well, not really. Like, adults are useless. I told them we have a handler, and he's at the office. We don't need them. And I just thought, I was like, that's an abrupt theme for the show. But that's where it should be if you're doing the Save the Cat beats of what this pilot is. And no, that's the theme largely of this story. Like the overarching theme is darkness descends on the world. And a lot of times, unfortunately, we as adults ask the children to handle it for us. We are too busy with our careers. We are too busy with adult things. And it's the kids that have to deal with the fallout. And that makes them grow up real fast. It makes them so mature. And I've read stories like this as a child. And I just remember feeling really like excited by all of the adventure. And it's always presented in like a YA stories always end with a positive ending where you're like, okay, we got the bad guy. And I think it's so empowering for kids to see. But reading a story like this as an adult, that darker side of like, what are we putting on these children? Just hit me really hard because I feel like it's really actually very timely for a lot of the stuff that's happening just in general in the world.
Ooh, and here's the thing, is that the kids are able to see the danger and sense the danger. The adults cannot. And throughout the entire book, it's shown that the adults are terrified. The kids are the ones that have to be brave. They have to protect because the adults are useless. They're afraid. And they like, yeah.
And I do wonder if in the series, like eventually there are adults that are able to be sensitive to this too. And it is because they like just learn to sort of like face that fear. Because it's a whole series. And after reading this book, I would definitely recommend like reading through the whole series, especially if you have like emerging YA sort of like upper middle to high school readers, like early high school readers. This might be a little low for high school, but really good themes, really good book for that like reading cohort.
It's enjoyable. That is the thing. It's enjoyable to read. And it's a lovely mix of a lot of things because it gives you like, there were moments where I'm like, whoa, this is kind of in like a young person horror genre. But then you've got an adventure story, and then you've got a mystery story, and then you've got a story about friendship and saving the world. And then like, yeah, you've got all of those things blended into one, and then you've got like these clever little kids
Yep.
Like they're funny too. They've got wit.
And I think we have the hint of a love story emerging between Lucy and Lockwood. I think that's like a thing that is coming. It's definitely more heavily implied as the TV show goes on. The TV show, the first 3 episodes basically cover this entire book for season 1 of the show. And I know I believe it's been renewed with Netflix. So there's going to be more, and I'm pretty sure the subsequent episodes cover subsequent books.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest, because it is the same. I appreciate it. It's the same thing with the series of unfortunate events, which is another one of my favorite YA novels. Is that they only give these brilliant books this much time. And here's the thing, they did really good at covering all of the important things, all of the beats, and they had the Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. But at the same time, like, I was like so surprised that they just like 3 episodes and that's it.
Yeah. Thank you, Differ. Welcome to the people who just got rated over here. We are discussing Lockwood and Co. We are usually this channel streams Monsters of the Week or Dungeons and Dragons. Today we are doing our little book club where we watch movies, we read books, watch the movies and shows they're made into, and discuss. We're doing Lockwood and Co. today, so we're kind of in the middle of a description. So welcome. If you've seen it, great. If you haven't, join us for the discussion.
Spooky ghosts.
Yeah. Okay, so you were saying the show. Oh, one thing that I noticed is that was different, substantially different in the show than in the book. Was in the show, episode 1 gives us a lot more background on Lucy, which I really liked because it created this deep emotional connection for our protagonist. I feel like a lot of times mysteries fall into this trope where we have the central mystery, and then we've got all the puzzles we have to figure out, and we have our detective. And Lockwood really fills that detective role, I think, in this story, but he's not the protagonist.
No.
Lucy is very much the protagonist, and she, in the show, which this may be covered in like subsequent parts of the book, but in the show, she starts off, they have a flashback of her getting into being a ghost hunter. And her mom basically like sells her to the ghost hunters. Not literally, but is like, you have to get a job, you have to support us, you have the skill, you're gonna do it.
Lucy says, I don't want to do this, I'm scared. And her mom's like, you're gonna do it or you're gonna know what real fear feels like. And I'm like, good. And just takes all her money because that's how parents exploit children.
But she becomes very closely connected to another girl at the school. I was actually wondering if there were queer overtones there.
I got the vibes.
This is why I'm like a little iffy on the romance between Lucy and Lockwood, but they're this bonded pair. Like, they learn all the stuff together. They watch out for each other, and then Lucy's best friend, this girl, gets ghost touched, and she's basically in a ghost coma. Like, if you're touched by the ghosts, you don't die, but you are basically incapacitated.
Well, here's the thing. So there were a couple of key differences between the book and the show in that way. So in the show, they didn't have that best friend. But I will admit, best friend was one of my favorite additions that they did to it. Because it gave
they don't have best friend. In the show, they do.
In the show, she has best friend. In the movie, she does, or in the filming stuff, she did not. The other thing is with Ghost Touch, in the film version, it is when you get Ghost Touch, you go into a ghost coma. Versus in the book, it's like it's kind of like getting poisoned, where like if you get touched, yeah, things are gonna go bad, like you're gonna get the Dumbledore hand, but if you catch it early enough, you aren't gonna die. But essentially they're like, you get ghost touch, you get poisoned and could possibly die versus being in ghost coma. But that was just a difference.
I mean, it was a twist, but I thought it was a very good addition.
So did I.
Because it gave us so much empathy towards Lucy that I frankly think was a little bit lacking in the book, because the book was following so closely to a typical noir sort of mystery trope, where we're very heavy on plot and we're very light on character.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a series, so you can grow into the characters, and the characters are plenty enjoyable in the book series as well. But like, I got more of that emotional connection with Lucy right in the show, which is surprising because usually that's not the case. Usually the show cuts those character moments.
Yeah. I just want to touch on this very, very quickly. When it comes to Lockwood's character, I think he's a brilliant character because he's the kind of person where he names his own company Lockwood and Co. Like, he likes the spotlight, obviously. He is good at what he does, but like, he likes to be the center of attention. However, you don't feel like pissed at him or like he has too much of an ego because it's very obvious he cares about his team.
I think it's less that he likes to be the center of attention and more that he likes to be in control.
Ooh.
He's got like the older brother vibe going where he's like, I'm gonna do this. I don't need any adults. Most of the other ghost hunting organizations do have adults overseeing the children. And there are kids who are like top dog in the ghost hunting.
He's only child vibes.
But he has this only child, like, I am here to defend what is mine and my people, and we're gonna make a good life for it. Like, screw the adults because they kind of ruin the world. We're gonna do this on our own, by our own rules. And that gets him in a lot of interesting places because he has to defend that position. And anytime he messes up, everybody's like, what's gonna happen if you had adults? And he's like, really?
Yeah. But an interesting thing is that, like, obviously the adults end up being the antagonists because it's all of, like, they end up kind of being
that is a YA trope very much.
Yeah, it's a YA trope. But I don't think that there is, like, actual animosity, like, hatred expressed towards the adults. It's just more of, like,
it's business.
They don't understand. So, like, can you just get out of our way? So yeah, I thought I liked the additions they made.
I really did too.
And like the character development.
Let's see. So Act 1 of the book and the show, really very similar. The basic differences are going to be sort of what the show added, truthfully, because it's a very truthful, like, beat for beat adaptation of all the stuff in the first book, which I was kind of surprised at, but it makes sense. Like, Act 1 was episode 1, Act 2 was episode 2, Act 3 was episode 3. Like, it was a very interesting way to go about adapting it, and it made a lot of narrative sense.
Yeah. So in Act 1, like, the main catalyst of the entire story is Lucy and Lockwood go on a ghost hunt, and they think that it's going to be like a level 1 ghost. It's going to be an easy ghost. It's just someone who fell down some stairs. But it ends up being a lot bigger, like angry girl ghost that they find out was trapped up in a chimney wall, like bricked up in a chimney wall, which we all know probably means that she was murdered instead of, falling down the chimney.
Well, Lucy's psychic, so we definitely know that because she touches the locket and is like, oh.
So, yeah, her psychic ability is, like, connected to her hearing. So they have different talents. Lockwood can see, like, ghost lights, essentially death lights. So he can see, like, shapes and places where people died and brightness. And then Lucy can hear this stuff. And when she touches stuff, she can sometimes get some hearing and feeling things going on as well. Well, of course, they find on the corpse a locket. And obviously, really angry ghosts. They're trying to defend themselves. They use essentially a bomb to defend themselves from the ghosts.
Angry ghosts. Angry ghosts.
Yeah, and as the house is burning down around them, Lucy snatches the locket, just kind of like not even thinking. And they hop out. Obviously, they get in trouble with the law because they don't have good insurance. You can't.
All of these grown-up problems. The heck insurance? We have ghost insurance. No, I thought that her connection. So it's a dead lover that they think is the killer, which is an interesting thing to put for like young kids, but a great like emerging sort of theme, because like we're just getting into these feelings. One of the first things we're going to encounter is like a relationship gone wrong, drastically wrong. And Lucy throughout the whole thing has just so much care and empathy and just like overwhelming sense of like responsibility for this girl that she doesn't even know. Like fabulously aspirational. And I think like in like contrasting this to stories like Harry Potter, which we all grew up loving, and obviously there are massive issues around it thanks to she who shall not be named, who is just annoying and a terrible person. But one of the things that drove me bonkers about the Harry Potter series, even when I was a child reading them, was that Harry was so freaking selfish. And I think that happens a lot in YA shows where the main character is just like, I need these things. And you're like, cool, like I get that. I also need those things. But also you're annoying.
Yeah. No,
it's not that.
But they're selfish in the way that it's like they're trying to make it seem like it's for a
better cause, like
a good reason.
I have to save the world.
Yeah.
Just a weird white savior complex. Like let's do all that.
It's very weird, the idea of like, oh, well, I'm saving everyone else by acting alone, despite having an entire team of people who love me, who want to help me on this journey. Like, it's Lord of the Rings, it's Harry Potter, it's all of it, and I don't understand it. Versus Lockwood and Co, where they are very, very much about this is a team. We are sticking together no matter what.
And I think like Lockwood gets that a little bit, but he's not the main protagonist, so I'm not so mad about it. And also he gets called on it throughout the story by Lucy and by George, his other partner, who are like, dude, you can't keep us in the dark about these things. Like we know you're doing things. We are here to help. So I think that's a character arc for him. And it's balanced out by Lucy's care.
I think that's a character arc in the book, but I think it's kind of reversed in the TV show, that it's actually Lucy, because even though like they try and play it off in the film like, Lockwood's keeping secrets, Lucy is keeping a whole lot more, like having like a ghost trapped in a locket just hidden on her body. Also in the TV show, like she tries to break up the gang multiple times. She's like, I need to just go because like I'm causing problems. I don't have enough qualifications. People are getting mad that I'm here. And Lockwood is always like, no, you can't leave because you're family now.
Yeah.
Family.
Congratulations.
We're Vin Diesel now. He's Vin Diesel.
We need a car. Yes, and I think that theme of found family works out very, very well. And it's not just friends, and it's not just school. Like they're doing a real job, which is also, I think, a unique component of this story and this series in general. Kids are usually in these shows, kids are doing school.
Yeah.
But this really ties it to the real world. It's not academic. The stakes are real. This is your career. Hopefully you survive. Like, and that is literally the stakes, and these kids are like cool with that.
Yeah, it's they don't ever talk about school. They only talk about work.
Passing their ghost hunter marks. Like, there's like levels. But
that's like ghost hunter training and certification and stuff like that versus actual physical learning.
Which is an interesting part of this world. Like, I'm actually curious, like, is that a thing in this world anymore? Or has this world just like shipped its children off to go be ghost hunters because all the parents are scared?
Yeah, no, legitimately. And it's one of those, oh no. Oh, sorry, I just made a connection and it's pissing me off.
Okay.
Parents willing to sacrifice their children. Parents are willing to sacrifice their children because they are scared for themselves, which reflects, not even scared, they're paranoid for themselves, which reflects something that is currently happening right now in society. You know, people not caring about children, only caring about themselves and protecting themselves versus their children, if you understand what I mean.
Yep. Nope. It hit pretty hard this week. Like, I was thinking about it as I was reading it, but then everything happened in Tennessee this week, and I was like, well, shit. It's the same thing. We are just ignoring this. And the book, here's my thing. I grew up very conservative, very religious, and my parents encouraged development of story and whatnot, but it was always as like a convincing tool, an argument tool, almost like an indoctrination tool. Everything had to be ultimately about the gospel, and that was it. Like, it all had to drag people to your point of view aggressively. And if it wasn't as explicit enough, it probably wasn't doing a good job, which is really kind of absurd because that's not how people connect with stories. What I like about Lockwood and Co is that it has this heavy theme without ever being heavy-handed about it. Like, and obviously it was written before this stuff became, well.
When was it written?
I'm actually looking that up right now. Hold on. It was written. Oh my gosh, my thing just died.
Of course.
But we can continue. It was written in the world that we live in. So obviously this person knows that those things are going on. But I like stories that have perspectives that are actually very, very timely and hit you and kind of make you think about things in a different way without being like, in no nuanced way, guns are bad. That's not the point of this story. And that's actually not the point of the conflict that we have in society. The thing that we're dealing with in society is, how do we protect our kids? And what is that worth? We're not worth. What is our last?
It was written from, so the books were published from 2013 to 2017.
Yeah. So this was, yeah.
Oy vey. That very interesting, because I had not made that connection until just now. But it is very timely.
And I think that's why it hit me differently reading it as an adult as opposed to as a kid. And I really hope that kids that read this can find it exciting and empowering and all of that, because I think that's what kids need out of stories like this. Like, especially a story where you're facing something with very big stakes and you succeed. You make the world a better place, you help your friends, you come to a better understanding of yourself. I think that can be incredibly cathartic. But I also think that it should hit adults in an uncomfortable way and make them think about what they're doing in their everyday life, to make sure that this isn't actually a reflection of like our physical world. Everybody's going to have emotional things that they have to go through. parents are never able to just not dump stuff on their kids. Like, even the most loving parents are going to do damage unintentionally. But like, I don't know what it should hit us. It should make us think, what can we do to make sure that we're not actually physically putting our kids in danger because we're scared?
Yeah.
There are things. And on that note, if you want to make sure that you can do something, make sure you're registered to vote. And if you go to house.gov, you can also look up your representatives and write them all your feelings about all of the things. They'll write you back. They'll probably write you back a form letter, but they'll write you back, and they have to. Their assistants have to tally all those things. So if you feel frustrated and you want to vent, and you are like me, and you're just like, I'm gonna write on the internet. Write to your representative. The main thing is, write your rant to your representative, because they can actually do something about it, and their job is to listen to you.
Keep making a ruckus. Keep making a ruckus. One of the things that actually is probably more, well, I'm not sure. So the whole thing that you were talking about when you were talking about the children before, I just and how like the parents are kind of useless. It made me think, children are the future. And I think that's one of those things that is just a fact of life. Like, nothing is going to change until the children that are currently experiencing, like, being hit the hardest about this are the majority.
Well, and they're coming out. Like, there was a huge protest in Tennessee this past week of middle school children because of the policies that are being passed in their schools. They went to their capital and just flooded it. They couldn't fit in the building. There were so many of them. They were kids.
Sweet babies.
Yeah, we're gonna be okay. I think if we could just hang on.
If we can just like, unfortunately, time has to pass. But we can hang on until then. I thought about that when they talked about, so in the book there are kind of like different levels of ghost hunting. There are agents like Lockwood and Co who are going out and literally fighting the ghosts with rapiers and bombs and stuff. The rapiers, I was dying. I'm like, you're gonna fight an 1800s ghost, 1700s ghost, you better have a rapier. But then there are also like sensitives who don't do the fighting, but they're able to like kind of see stuff. And then you've got kind of the lowest level, which is the night watch. Yep. And they're just like little itty bitty babies given spears and expected to walk around and like patrol the place. And I'm like, they're talking about little like 9 years old, 6 years old. And I'm like, how do you?
And I recognize it's a fantasy world where, you know, everything revolves around the kids. That does happen in fantasy stuff. I get it. No parent in their right mind would send their kid to Hogwarts. Absolutely not. That is a terrible. I get it.
You're not wrong.
I'm sending you where it has a cursed dungeon? No, absolutely not.
The headmaster isn't going to send y'all home when you have a massive serpent that's like freezing people.
No, you're coming home. We're not doing this. You're going to public school and we're just going to deal with it.
Yeah, go to that Beaubaton one where they've got the flying carriage and they shimmy. Like, dance lessons are better than...
Oh God, I forgot what I was going to say. Anyway.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Little babies.
You're not going to send your kids to Hogwarts?
No, I'm not.
Parents are not going to send their kids into danger? Is that the thing?
No, it's fine. Act 3. The climax of the show. The solution to the mystery I actually really liked. I thought that it was like, if they had breadcrumbed it out really well, And Lockwood is clearly a very good detective. They give this out. He's definitely giving like young Sherlock vibes. Like,
oh my God, yes.
Definitely playing chess while everyone else is still picking a board game. And like understands. I'm really excited for them to develop that in future seasons of the show and to like continue reading the series and just be like, cool, where does this kid go?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, you.
We have not mentioned George. George, kind of, I feel so bad for that guy because he is the original like partner with Lockwood, and then he suddenly kind of gets pushed off to the side because Lucy comes in.
Yep.
I will say it was a little bit disappointing to me because they had in the book, it is made very clear that George is a larger kid. Yeah. And so, like, you've got this plus size kid, but he is incredibly smart and incredibly detailed and researches everything about these missions they're about to go on so they can go in prepared. He could single-handedly save their lives by having just the basic information that they need to know. And yet Lockwood and Lucy will just go in totally blind and completely ignore him. And he comes out multiple times being like, you idiots, if you just had waited
5 more minutes.
Literally, just wait until I get there. Then going in. But one thing that kind of disappointed me is that they also in the book, he's played out to be a little bit of an asshole. But in the televised version, they don't use a plus size actor, which is just it's like it's not vital to the story that he is plus size, but it is representation to see, you know, someone on the screen who's super smart and, you know, quick with a good line. But I will say in the film, they do make George more relatable or empathetic. He starts off being very, very tough and rigid and like kind of mean to Lucy, kind of standoffish, not mean.
Definitely, he's definitely like not the most secure person, and it has been him and Lockwood, and he is threatened by a new person. And I mean, they don't. I will say, I was disappointed a little bit about the body shape. They do cast a British Iranian actor though, so there is that side. Like I feel like they switched the representation. And again, it's one of those casting decisions where they also don't make that the key part of his character. And he still has the smarts, and he still is really kind of the important backbone. That was actually one thing that kind of bugged me about Lockwood a couple times, because he keeps getting these like massive plans in his brain, and like he tells his partners half of them.
Yes.
Doesn't tell them the rest, and then also like tells them that they're really good and he's really happy to be in a team with them. And then will also, like, if they're struggling or they're like, hold on, wait, like something weird is happening, he's like, stop lollygagging, we've got to go. And I'm like, no,
yeah,
please stop, no.
He's like,
don't be dumb, like, come on.
Here's the vibe that I get from Lockwood. He's definitely like, okay, team, huddle up. This is what we're doing. Blah! And everyone's like, wait, I have questions. And he just goes on and they have to chase after him.
They're like, no, there's a trap. Okay.
He is 100% the guy who's looking up the entire time while they're looking at the ground being like, what? Don't step on that. Yeah. But third act.
That's a mystery really, really well. And this is the true spoiler. So if you have been listening up to this point and you don't want to know what happens, stay away. Mm-hmm. But I thought They did a decent job of sprinkling in some red herrings, and then the man who had hired them was the bad guy all along, and it was like his sordid past that he didn't ever want to come up, which again I felt like was really, really timely, because we have a lot of old men with sordid pasts, and they're willing to literally just feed people to their monsters in order to keep their past hidden. And hello.
So to give you a little bit of
nice to meet you. You're hopping in the middle of our stream. We are discussing Lockwood and Co. If you've read it, let us know what you thought of it.
Yeah, but to give you a little bit of background as to what that means, throughout the entire book, Lucy has been like holding on to this locket that belonged to the dead girl in the beginning, getting vibes from it. They learn or discover that, you know, maybe it was given to her by a lover. Obviously, that relationship was not healthy. And so they're like, oh, great. Killer must be her boyfriend at the time. And they're so sure of it the entire time, which means, of course, he is not the killer. But they get propositioned by a very wealthy, like, iron business owner to come and clear out his incredibly haunted house. And obviously they have no work because they burned down someone's house. So they're like, yes, absolutely. But that place is haunted as yuck. Like, everyone died, and there is a red room and a screaming staircase, which is where the name of the book comes in. So yeah, they arrive to go hunt these ghosts that are haunting the place. And it is way more than they bargained for. The guy is super sketch, first off. He's like, by the way, you can't bring actual defenses and ghost bombs in with you. You just gotta, like, maybe die.
No research, just come.
Well, the research that they did have was literally a tour from the gardener being like, yeah, someone died over there, there was a horrible death over there, just all of this outlandish stuff. And then the other fun fact that a really highly trained team went in to clear out the place, and all of them died.
It's a death trap. It's 100% a death trap. And they succeed because Lucy is amazing, which is a typical trope in YA stuff. Like, the main character has to be the linchpin, or it's not really the YA. You're not really the YA protagonist if you're not the one. And I did really like that all of it has to center around her actually learning to control her powers, which I think is going to give her a lot of agency. Like, I feel like we ran into this with Shadow and Bone when we looked at that one last year, where like the characters just had stuff happen to them, and that was what moved along the plot. I feel like Lucy gets the chance to have stuff happen to her and then react. Choose if she is going to give in to the emotions that she's feeling from this other person. Choose if she's going to like walk away from her team. Like, she makes these active choices throughout the story that keep you very engaged with her as a character.
I feel though, in book versus TV, in the television show, I felt like they made her even more emotional, to the point of being like even more reckless than in the book. Because there are multiple times where like she does what would be considered dumb shit, but ends up like saving their life, without telling anyone, of course, because she is so connected to the woman who is attached to the locket. But I feel like in the television show, she gets so emotional so many times, and people are like, Lucy, calm down. And it's like,
well, okay, so here's the thing. It didn't bother me that she got emotional in the show. It bothered me that people kept telling her to calm down. Because I'm like, she is a child feeling emotions of murdered adults and trying very hard to process them in a way that can help her team. And she is not particularly practiced with this because she got kicked out of her last school before she was able to do it. So she's struggling. And I feel like girls are often told, just calm down and then we can help you. When that's not necessarily what's going on, right? Like oh no, I have a battery issue. Girls need the space to be because we will take on other people's emotions. And someone needs to tell us it's okay to let those emotions go. That is what we need to hear, not calm down. You're being emotional. This isn't helpful.
But that's the thing, is that being able to feel those emotions is what makes her so extraordinary and so special.
That's the power. But she needs to know that she can control it a little bit and she can have those boundaries, which I think is just a great adolescent theme to discuss, because you do that as a teen. Like, your best friend is having a bad day, you are melting down.
Oh, of course.
If you're one of those empathetic teens. Your parents are having a bad day. Oh my God, you are trying. So you have all of those inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's painful. Unless someone tells you it's okay to let those go, those aren't yours.
Yeah.
But you have to be told that, or somehow figure it out for yourself. I think most people, it's easier to be told by someone you trust.
So the way that they managed to have the big bad in the story, I think was absolutely brilliant and fascinating. So they start off, there's like there is a first, a second, and a third act to the climax of the book in the show. Your first act is in the Red Room, where they're like just testing the waters. They're like, okay, we can back out at any time whenever we want. And then suddenly they cannot. And what's even crazier is that the ghost they encounter is impossible, because it is nothing like anyone has ever experienced before. And honestly, they kind of like, they use their brains, but also they got really lucky with how they were able to get out of that. My biggest problem with the entire television show, I wanted to punch a freaking wall. In the television show, they run out of the Red Room, they go down the staircase, and they're like, it's a back staircase, it's a different staircase from what they thought was the screaming staircase. And Lucy goes, oh my God, this is it. And they're like, what? No, run. And nothing screamed. The screaming staircase was not screaming. And it was one of the best parts in the book, because they described it so beautifully, where it was like, literally, it would have driven you mad. It was so well written in the book. And then the screaming staircase, the name of the book, did not scream. It did Gregorian chants. It kind of when the freaking monks came in.
I was like, are they mad at them, or is the bad guy who murdered them? I'm confused. That was a little bit fuzzy. I felt like I was like, okay.
Wait, what was fuzzy? Sorry, I was too busy screaming.
No, it's fine. The Gregorian chant and the monks coming down. I'm like, I know they're supposed to be ominous, but also we've kind of like established that we're like feeling bad for these people who were murdered, and I didn't know what to feel like. Genuinely, I was like,
honestly, that spooked me. Because in the book, they talk about all of the ghosts being shadows on the wall, not physical manifestations, shadows on the wall. And they actually did that.
Which was really cool. It was a great effect. The visual effects in this are very nice for like a mid-range sort of like fantasy YA, I think.
They're excellent. They're really, really excellent. I thought that the way that they did it was very creepy. However, obviously they had to condense the final fight scene because they had more to do. But so it wasn't as dramatic, or
it was a lot shorter.
Yeah.
It was much shorter and it felt a little bit abrupt.
I wanted a bit of a Harry Potter moment. Where you actually,
Which kind of Harry Potter moment?
So the kind of moment where it's like, when you face the bad guy, you have the wand fight, there's spells flying all over the place. Because when it's described in the book, they are literally throwing everything at the literal wall, because all the shadows are on the wall, trying to fight off whatever this thing is, until they reach a point where there's we have nothing left. We are going to die. And then suddenly, Deus Ex Machina comes in. Even bigger bomb than before. Bombs apparently saved the day. But in this one, they literally stumbled around, and then Lucy nearly jumped in the well, and then things went boom, and that was it. And I wanted to see rapiers and sword fighting and throwing of salt, chains whipping around.
No, I'm with you there. I feel like that final climax battle could have probably had a little bit more action instead of just the ominous special effects sort of taking over everything. Yeah, I'm with you there. Especially since you had condensed the whole book into 3 episodes. You could have, I don't know, the beats worked real well in 3 episodes. You would have had to flesh out a few more things, I think, to give yourself room.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know.
But that is actually Act 2 of The Big Bad. Because when they come out of that, you think, climax is done. Everything is going to be fine. Turns out the guy who hired them was the bad guy all along. Because Shakespeare references. I'm so happy.
The Hamlet line. Oh, it's always him. You know what's funny? Okay, I love Shakespeare too, but also if the only reference you have is Hamlet, you're basic.
Yeah.
Give me at least the Scottish play. At least the Scottish play. Dig deep into Cymbeline or something. Come on.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Yes, it is easily recognizable for these young adults. Because they're probably reading Hamlet in middle school. And it kind of fits the vibe since everyone dies in the end. But, it honestly, it played very well into the story.
It really
because the whole thing
it wasn't a critique of the writing. It was absolutely a critique of the character who gave it to his girlfriend. Your face.
Oh, yeah, no. I thought that was cheesy as hell.
Give me your girlfriend, and you're a terrible person, and I hope you go to jail.
Yeah. So using Hamlet to woo a girl, maybe not the best idea, seeing as, he tells her to fuck off to a nunnery, and then she kills herself. And then he dies. So it's not a good one. Maybe try a sonnet.
Heck, even Taming of the Shrew, as problematic as that is, at least it ends with a wedding and she seems kind of okay, depending on how you direct it.
True. I feel like, oh my God, even in Winter's Tale, I feel like there is definitely a theme in Shakespeare where it's treat your girlfriend bad, don't worry, you'll end up fine in the end.
Oh, 100%. His plays are very chauvinistic. You have to direct them a different way in order to make them not. The chauvinism is part of the joke in a lot of the comedies, and it is the crux of the tragedy in a lot of the tragedies.
Do you know what they should do? A Stepford Wives version of Taming of the Shrew. So at the end, she turns into the Stepford wife, and that is why she's suddenly spewing all.
Okay, so welcome everybody. We are also theater nerds here.
Yeah. Third act of Big Bad.
No, I think that was all I had to say about Third Act of Big Bad, unless you have anything else you want to add.
Well, the third act is bad guy comes back, and so the guy who hired them turns out to be the bad guy. He tried to kill them because they were on to the story of like how the ghost girl died, and turns out, oh, he was Hamlet all along. And then Lucy pulls once again some dumb stuff that ends up saving their lives, where she literally opens up the locket and is like, hey girl, you're set free, go get him.
And we get all the catharsis of the angry bride. Yes, it's great.
It's so fabulous. Although I will admit, this happens a lot, that the nerdy stuff in books doesn't end up being included. Like the nerdy details don't end up being included in the TV show. So in the book, it's very inconsequential. But the guy is wearing like full iron armor because iron wards off ghosts.
Right.
Like he has a whole chest plate. He's dressed up. He looks stupid. And then of course in the TV film, he's just in his very dapper suit and has like some goggles. It's like, that's not gonna save you from a ghost.
his stick was gonna save him. I don't know. He
just had a stick.
Fancy. It was expensive. He also had a bodyguard. Maybe he was gonna throw the bodyguard at this. I don't know.
Oh yeah, the former child. The former child star. Don't sacrifice your children.
Yeah, the moral of this story is grown-ups, we gotta do better. That is the moral of this story. But yeah, if you have other thoughts about Lockwood and Co., definitely let us know. Message us. If you have other books that you'd like us to read or cover, let us know. We are doing Daisy Jones and the Six next week, which I'm really excited for because it's real different.
Next month or next week?
Sorry. Next month. Sorry. I'm not ready next week.
And then we're doing The Power after that in May, which I will say, I already started it because Daisy Jones and the Six takes a long time. It's on hold for a very long time at the library, but The Power was not. So I just started getting it all ready.
Yeah, The Power.
Guys, The Power is going to be so good. So good.
We're doing a lot of empowered women stories for the moment, guys. We will channel our rage. And if you have other rage books that you want us to rage read with you, let us know.
I love a good rage.
Do you have any quick, other things that you're reading or watching that you want to leave people with for suggestions before we go? Other than, clearly, our reading list. You will join our reading list and you will just start reading so that you can join in our next.
Well, if you need to watch something this week and you happen to be a fan of anime, I happen to know a trilogy of movies that have just been released with, some excellent actors in them. So, the Psycho-Pass Sinners of the System movies just got released on Crunchyroll. Yes, I'm in 2 of them. Case 2 and Case 3, Frederica Hanashiro. So please go support. Please go watch them.
Yeah. Okay, that's way more than what I was going to suggest. But yes, go watch Aaron. Also, just watch anime. Anime's great. It's perfect.
I started reading manga and love that too. The Chainsaw Man manga, I thoroughly have enjoyed it, and I'm surprised.
That's another thing. If you guys have manga that you want us to cover, manga and anime adaptations, because that's not something we've done yet. But that could be cool. So if there's a show that you want us to cover, let us know. So last night, I went with my D&D group to go see the D&D movie. It is perfect. I was not actually expecting it to be good. I was expecting it to be fun. And a romp and be witty and whatever. No, it is so good. If you are a D&D player, you will love all of the Easter eggs that are everywhere. If you are a legacy D&D player, you're just gonna be like, whoa, there's some deep cuts. If you are a newbie D&D player like me, you're gonna be like, cool, I kind of recognize all of this, and it's very interesting. It also is often those like actiony adaptation movies get lost in just stupid jokes and the plot. But this show has so much freaking heart, and it subverts the typical tropes of the characters very nicely. And the ending is super satisfying, and the script is witty, and the special effects are great, and the action is on point. Even down to the point of like, cool. Like as a player, I could be like, oh, that was in that one. Oh no, you rolled blah, blah, blah. Oh no, you missed that. And it's just it reads so beautifully. And if you're not a D&D player, it's just gonna be a romp. Like if you like The Princess Bride and stories like that, it's that vibe. It's just an adventure, and it's got great characters, and it's wonderful. Go see it. Yeah.
Chloe, I thought of you when I read this about the Dungeons and Dragons movie. So people, they were interviewing the directors. Someone was interviewing the directors. And if this is not clickbait, and is accurate, the directors said they were asked about, the Dungeons and Dragons, using that. They're like, we're using Dungeons and Dragons as a costume to tell the stories that we actually want to tell.
So I saw that too, and I was like, okay, but that's how the game works. That's literally how the game works. So it doesn't bother me at all. Dungeons and Dragons is a series of rules and a series of like, here's a bunch of races that you can like play, but also people make up their own races all the time. And you saw so much. Like there were some weird ass things that are not typical D&D, but I know they're in the playbooks. And that's what it is. It is a collaborative storytelling thing for you to tell your own stories at your table. And I do think it was clickbait the way that they quoted him. I don't have a problem with it as a player though, because that's literally how the game works. Like, it's not like there is a D&D book that has the D&D story. There's not a the D&D story. There's the D&D world, really. There are kingdoms that people do, and they reference those kingdoms all over the place. But like,
think of all characters. I think of all like the Dimension. I've started watching Dimension 20. It is so great. Unfortunately, it's only the first episodes because I don't want to like pay for another subscription. Yike. I'll find it illegally, I'm sure. But all of the Dimension 20s are these different stories with entirely different environments, but it's literally like they have the structure that is Dungeons and Dragons, and then they dress it up and tell a whole new story. And it's so cool.
I love collaborative storytelling, things like that. It's therapeutic. It's good for team building. It's great for creativity. It's just a ton of fun. But yeah, I mean, D&D is a skin you put on the story that you want to tell. And of course, as the directors, they have legacy characters in there though. Like there are legacy characters that are in campaigns that they've published that pop in and interact with the new characters. So if you are familiar with some of the legacy campaigns, and I'm not gonna say anything because this is no spoilers here for this because it's too new. It came out this weekend. But yeah, check it out. I hope you enjoy it. I think it'll be fun. And if you want to see more games played, come join this Twitch channel, the Uncanny Pros, on Tuesday nights. We usually are playing Monster of the Week, but we are all D&D nerds, and we have actually a dragon through line for our adventure this year, and some of that will be in the D&D format. So keep your eye on the channel.
It's really, really fun, and the characters are great, and love them. Baba Java is one of my favorite additions in the entire thing. I absolutely adore the fact that there is a coffee shop called Baba Java.
We have to get the merch out for Baba Java. We need shirts and cups. That's the thing that we need to do.
I want that so bad. I will be the first.
Well, cool. So yeah, I think that's actually all we have for you guys today. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you have other requests, let us know. I am Chloe Liz on all the socials. Erin.
I'm Erin Noble on all of the socials, but it's only with one N because we conserve things here. So it's ERIN Noble. Yeah.
And then Chloe Liz 05. I don't know why I said Chloe Liz.
Yeah.
Chloe Liz 05. But yeah, thanks so much. Have a great weekend. Go see some fun movies and tell us what you're rating.
Bye.
See you later.